Hey, what's going on? This is Khaliq Glover again, and I wanted to come on here and share with you again some of my insights for a case study. Somebody sent me their song, a lady by the name of Jerialice. This is for you. I'm working on your song, and I want to give you a few insights. She sent me her whole Studio One session. Right now, I'll let you hear the basic rough mix that she did in comparison as well with some of the other things we were talking about. But I'm missing a couple of the plugins that she had, so doesn't line up exact, but it's pretty close. It's not that far off. So the differences of with or without the plugins, I think I'm missing. She had an API 560, it looks like, on the kick and snare, you know, for EQ, and she had the CLA vocals plugin, which I don't have. So, you know, we'll make just adjustments and compensations to, you know, realize that those two basic plugins are missing off of those three instruments. But otherwise, everything's the same the way it came in, and we're going to hear it. And then what I'm going to do is give some of my insights of how I think Jerialice, how I think you can elevate this a little bit more with just looking at a couple of things. Okay, so this song is called Innocence, and let me play it and go to the beginning. Okay, so this is just how it came in from me, so I haven't done anything other than to just playing it back for you guys, you know. Now there's something, let me stop this right away. As soon as I play this, there's something going on here right away that I want you to notice, Jerialice. You have a 60 cycle hum going on right away. So something's going on in your electricity. 60 cycle is your house current is giving you some kind of a ground hum or wherever you're working at. So in a case like that, you know, being able to filter out that stuff, you know, from your power will clean up the signal right away. But if you know, sometimes we get used to this stuff. I have it too, so this is nothing that's, you know, it's not anybody's fault or anything like that. Sometimes, I mean, you get what you get from the power grid coming into your house. Sometimes you can try all kinds of stuff, and it's just there. You know, I've had that happen many times. Sometimes it's there on certain days or certain times of days when people are turning stuff on or whatever, and then all of a sudden you got this buzz in your system and you don't know where it came from. And then another time during the day you're working and it's totally clean and clear. I still have that happen many times. So just want to make you aware of that, though, so that you can know and not be okay with being used to it. Okay, so let me play this again. You hear it, boom. And this is one other thing too. Now that tone as well, you know, so that's somewhere at 60 cycles or in that area between 60 and 65. So that's going to be a certain note, and that's sounding like that note, you know, with this boom, and that's out of key with your song. So it's almost a I'm not sure exactly, but it's not a consonant sound. It's a dissonant type of tone going through the whole song with that buzz being in there. You can't really hear it now, but it's still there providing tension. It almost sounds like it's about a half step away from what the actual key of this on the doom, and it sounds like it's maybe a half step lower or something like that. So you're going to get that dissonance of those rubs, that minor second rubbing right together, and not know why. You know, it'll make people listening, they won't necessarily hear it unless they got trained ears, but it'll make them edgy and nervous for some reason, and they won't know why. Okay, let me go into the song beyond that. Okay. So then we hear this, we got this bass line. The bass and guitar playing a nice, with the drums back there, with the kick drum is driving it. We don't hear a full beat yet, so it's mainly kick drum and that bass. And we still got that swirl going on from the keys. We got the vocals in there. So let me stop here for a second, and then let's talk for a second. Okay, so what's going on here is there's a lot of stuff, and this is the same problem that a lot of you usually face. It's very common, where there's a lot of low end clutter and clashing, or low mids, you know, getting cloudy because there's so many different things going on, and deciding what should be featured and what shouldn't be, and what should be the foundation as far as balance and everything. And then there's a couple of things I want to look through. You know, I expanded the plugins here to see what she had on here, and let's go through this. Let me just switch over so that you can see my, where's it at? What was I going to show you? Oh, yeah, okay, so there we go. Let me show you over in this area here. Okay, so on the drums, let's see what we got going on here, first of all. So for the inserts, we've got all across these drums here. These are all the drums down here. Kick, snare, tom, hat, and overhead left and right, and then a drum bus. Coming up to the drum bus, she has these things on here, Maserati, it looks like. She got a reverb and a limiter. And then the VEQs here, which simulate the Neves. Renaissance, you've got that Renaissance. There's several Renaissances, so we're going to open it and see what it is from Waves. So we got to see what that is. It's on every channel, though. So that's one of the first things that I look at. Okay, and then going over here after we get past the drum bus, then we go over here. We got the bass over here. Okay, and on the bass channel, we got the bass here. It's an ARP bass, which is a synth. And then she's got Renaissance bass mono, Renaissance something else, which will open it, and Renaissance compressor, the R compressor. Okay, so we'll see like that. So a lot of wave stuff going on here. We got keys 1 and keys 2. Nothing on the actual channels, but we've got a keys BU, I guess that's for bus, keys bus. I guess we just got a capital U there. And on that keys bus, we've got C1 comp. Okay, but we'll look at that and everything because I see something that gives me a little bit of a pause. We've got electric guitar here, an electric guitar copy, and a guitar bus. And up on the electric guitars, there's nothing actually on the guitars themselves, but on the bus there is right here, the SSLG channel. Then right next to it, we got guitar solo 1, guitar solo 2, and we've got those processed with amplifier and compressors and stuff like that. Okay, so we'll see what that's about. Then we get into the vocals over here. Okay, so we got the vocals, their lead and background vocals, and you know, mix verb directly on the vocals. So the effects are going directly on the channels. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a second. We got a doubler over here on the last ooh, and effects vocals. Well, I don't know what that is, but we've got the H comp, and that's where the CLA vocal plugin was. It's missing now, but you know, that's not going to be that big of a difference. Then we got a guitars bus here with the H comp. Nothing on, we got birds. Okay, that's pretty much it, you know. And then, you know, we got the stereo thing. She's just got a meter plug in, the PAS frequency meter, and a console shaper on the stereo bus. Okay, so since we got that and we can see what's happening with that, I'm gonna look at a couple of things, and let me just play it from the, well, let's do this first of all. We're gonna listen, and it's, you know, it starts out with the keys, but and then we got We got the bass coming in there doing something. We got that key going. You hear it's got little weird sounds and there's sample holes and stuff like that. Then I was kind of starting in the thing. So that's like, and then the drums are.
Living in a strange world, sweetness of a pearl in the softest.
Okay, so let me make an observation then with that drum groove right there. What I would build between that, the bass and the guitar, because that's the theme of it. That you know, and in the drums we got that kick drum is punctuating it. That needs to be a punchy sound because that's the thing, and they should all work together. The kick drum, the bass, and the guitar basically are one pulsing thing. Doom 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 doom, doom 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 doom. So we should that kick drum should be punching on right along with that bass and the guitar doing on that. But then you've got in the drums too. The other part of it is a doom 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 doom. Then the hi-hat. Doom 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 doom. So that's very important that stuff doesn't get lost because that's what punctuates that groove. Okay. So let's go into here and play this a little bit. And I noticed that the song starts slower and ends faster. So that may be on purpose or whatever, and that's fine because it's a real natural progression. But I just wanted to point that out for. So that kick drum needs to have a knock. It needs to have an edge on that beater. That beater needs to be coming through there. Because there ain't no snare in there right now, so that's what's carrying that rhythm. Now this should be a lifting up all the darkness. That should be a transition to a whole nother thing. And then dropping into this is the darkness, lifting up the darkness, and then we're peeking through it. We're peeking through the darkness. And then that's the opening to the world. So that's where them keyboards come out. But these keyboards, something's weird about that keyboard pad, and I'll look into it in a second. And then the vocals. Okay, so we get an idea of what's going on with here. The biggest thing that I always say is make sure that you build in excitement and interest. When it's going from one thing to the next, you can't wait to hear what's going on next without your song sounding it's at the same level. So once you hear it, you feel your mind subconsciously thinks that, okay, I've heard it all, so I don't really have to pay attention anymore. You want something new to keep coming in there. Okay, so there's a lot of good little things, but let's take a look and break down some of this stuff first of all. One of the things, and I mentioned it before, and I'm going to turn off, let me turn off the vocals. Let me turn off the guitar solo. Let me see, where's the guitar solo? Turn that off. And I just want to hear, actually, let me turn off the keyboards. And we're just going to listen to the bass, drums, and guitar that come in. Okay, wait, something, what am I missing? Because I'm not hearing a guitar and I'm seeing it here. Did I mute the guitar somewhere? I muted the solo guitar, but I didn't mute the guitar bus, so what is muted that I'm not hearing? Ah, interesting. Okay, so do you see what happened? Now this is where I get into my vision mixing method. I want to mention that because this is exactly why I do, like, there's a three-stage method the way I approach mixing, and stage one is structure, stage two is containers, and stage three is the refinery. Okay, but stage one, structure, that means setting things up, getting it organized, and making sure everything's going where it needs to be and it makes sense and everything. I just discovered something that's a bit of an issue that you know, now, you know, I'm not going to call it a mistake, but I call it when you hand it off to other people, it's not obvious or whatever. So you see, I just discovered that the guitars over here, right here, are coming through this keyboard bus. So I got the keyboard bus muted, but let me take it off. But we're hearing keyboards and guitars coming out of that keyboard bus. Now it's all gone. But we see we got guitars over here, and it says guitars are going to electric guitar bus. Okay, so that bus is coming out, but it's going through the keyboard bus. What's really where this should go? This is electric guitars. Everybody's muted, so the keyboards are going to the keyboard bus, which is going to the main out, which is fine. And then the electric guitars are going to the keyboard bus instead of a guitar bus. Okay, let's see what's up with that. Yeah. So what's coming out of this electric guitar bus right here is actually keyboards, and you can see it right there. Okay, that's actually getting keyboards as well, even though it says electric guitar. And we got electric guitar over here, but it's actually going to the keyboards, you know. So everybody's coming over through this one thing. And so that's part of where having the organization being set up and having your structure fully checked makes a lot of difference in getting the final thing you're going to do. Okay, so that's one issue. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that right now, but it's now that I know it, okay, I'll just leave it all open and everything and know I can get everything from here. So I'm going to mute the individual tracks. So I'm going to mute the keyboard. So this is your main groove here. It's not that keyboard swell. This is the main groove here. The kick and the guitar and the bass. Now, how they're balanced against each other is a whole different thing. I think, you know, this song with this drum beat, like I said, that kick drum and the drums themselves need to be punchy and everything. This also has, when it gets into this next section, it's kind of like it's like a reggaeton type sound right here. Now, so I'm listening to just that. And listen also to the drums. I mentioned it before, I saw it. These drums here are going through a stereo reverb. All the drums are going through a stereo reverb. And you hear it's smoothing and smearing the whole groove. It's not punching because it's getting washed out and smoothed over by everything going through this reverb because it's directly on the bus. This is a case where it definitely is better to use a send and return thing. Put the effects on its own effects channel, and oops, sorry about that. Put the effects on its own effects channel, and then you put the effects on an effects channel by itself, or an aux channel if you're in Pro Tools or whatever, and then set up a send, an auxiliary send to send into it the different things that you want. So in a case like this, I wouldn't send the whole drum set through. Send the snare through, of course, to get the sound that you want. The snare is the main trigger that you want, and then maybe some of the other stuff, you know, if you got toms and stuff like that occasionally, you want them to splash and go through, they can go through it. If you want a little bit of the overheads just to glue it kind of together through one space, but it doesn't have to be. The low end stuff like the kick drum and all that, I wouldn't necessarily immediately go for that. You know, and I'm not saying you can't, because it might be with the sound that you want. If it is, that's fine. But start out with, to me, getting the groove right and nice and tight up front is important, and having everything go through that on an insert like that, and it's just going through and you don't really have no control. It's just all reverb drums. and it takes away the punch and the upfrontness. Okay, so let me see. So then the other thing, let's look at this too. Okay, let's go a little farther in. So we got these guitars over here, all going through this through this bus. Let me turn off the effects first. I mean the inserts, because the guitars don't have anything on the individual things, and it's all going through an SSL channel. Now turn it back on. So open the SSL channel and see what's going on here for these guitars. Okay, so basically she's taking off some low end, taking off a little bit of mids here, just above, right around 500. Okay, relatively narrow right there, bumping a half a dB up here at like around 3.5. Okay, nothing on that. Okay, but okay, here's something else too. We got a solo, and I got the solos muted over here. So if that might be crosstalk or something, I don't know how it's recorded, but I'm hearing that guitar come through where it really shouldn't be coming through right now, because that should be over here on these guitar tracks. See, that's where it is. Yep. But I muted the guitar tracks, and I'm still hearing it somewhere. It's one of these. Okay, so we just have to, that's probably why it's the stuff that's coming through the keyboard bus that we left open. Okay, so we just got to look out for stuff like that, because when we want to solo mute things and all that, we want to make sure everybody is taken care of in one fell swoop. Okay, so then the other thing with those guitars. Let me listen to the different sounds of the guitar, and we can hear the volumes are kind of all over the place with this. See, it's way down here, and then there was another time it was up in here. So this tells me that these individual channels are candidates for compression, as well as probably some EQ to separate them out. And then we see that this guitar, we're sending it to the electric guitar bus. So that means it's got to send this going here and going through this. So a different way. Okay, this is that solo coming through here. But that's the solo that's really over on these channels over here, okay? So just a couple of things. Let me go back and mute this one in here. Now, this is the one with the crunch. Let me filter out some stuff and see what happens on what we're hearing on it. Oh, we're not hearing the electric bus. Yeah, because that's right, it's going through the other one. So see all this stuff that I got over here. Now it works if I take that off, but it's not having as much of effect as I want, because it's still coming through this other stuff too. So I got to be careful. So when I'm adjusting this, I'm really hearing what I'm really adjusting, because it's also leaking through the keyboard bus. So you know, I can do all the adjustment I want here, and I'm still not really getting the true thing of what I'm hearing. So that's something to be careful of. Okay, and then there was a couple other things, you know. Oh, let's listen to the keyboard. I'm not going to go on real long, but I want to just point out a few things, and then you can look at it to lift this up, you know. Okay, let's look at okay, let's turn these key back, and I'm going to mute this. I'm going to mute the bass. Okay, so I'm listening to the keyboards, and I noticed something right here. Okay, so we got a left, well, keyboard 1 and keyboard 2 split left and right. You see that? Well, let me go back over here so that you guys can kind of see what's happening. Okay, so we got keyboard 1 here, right there, going left, hard left, and keyboard 2 going hard right. They're going through this bus here, keyboard bus. Okay, but something weird, red flag. So I'm looking at this meter right here. See this meter here, going up to minus 12. But what's happening is I don't see any variation on it. It's stereo left and right, and these are supposed to be 2 parts. I see variations over here, right? See how the meters are varying on the left and right? These are exactly the same here, red flag. And what that tells me, when I go up here, it says C1 comp, but I see MO. Let's see what that is, because I think I know what it is, and I think you know what it is. It's C1 comp mono. So what we just did is we took a stereo instrument and took away the stereo-ness. Even though we have it in our mix, we're not hearing it. Okay, so if I bypass this, I bet you the keyboards are going to come back out. You hear? They spread. Now put it back. Now mono. Now stereo. Okay, so interesting, huh? You know, now if that was done on purpose, you know, it's not for me to say whether it was on purpose or not. Maybe it was just overlooked, but this is what I catch. So to me, it's like, well, if you want to have a mono keyboard, just make it a mono keyboard. Otherwise, you're putting 2 tracks on here to represent stereo. You're spreading them hard left and right, but then you're undoing all of that by putting a plug-in on that changes it into mono. And so it's defeating the purpose of getting it wide and out of the way and on the sides and everything. So that's part of why it's clogged up a bit, okay? So hopefully that in itself was a big insight, because I kept hearing something that was bugging me about that. Turn it off. See, now we got the stuff on the sides. Now it's right in the middle. You see it collapses. See, you can make this bigger if you need it to be bigger and wider. You can make it bigger in the stereo realm. Now I'm listening without the bass in there. Then we got that little melody thing in there. So I understand why the compressor was put on and everything. The compressor be needed to control and level out a few things and all that. But you know, putting the mono in this, I think what did it. So go back and look at that Jerialice. And then the other thing, now we look over here at some of these things. So we got the bass. Well, let's look at these drums. I talked about the drums. I said the drums got all these. Let's look at what this Renaissance is. It's Renaissance axe. And let me go where the drums are. Okay. So the Renaissance axis. That's hitting the kick drum. Let's turn it off. You hear what happened? Now put it back on. So that Renaissance axe right away, I can hear it. You know, we're not talking about volume, but it's kind of smoothing out your attack. You're losing it a bit with that. So you might want to look at that. You've got it on every track. I'm seeing here. So it's Renaissance is here. Let's see on the snare. Let's see. So that's on the snare. Let's take it off the snare. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, it's doing a couple things that are nice for the snare, but also some things where it's kind of adversely affecting the snare as well. I tried probably something else. You know, I think a compressor will get you there in a better thing on both the kick and snare rather than this particular thing. Okay, so I'll put those back on so that we have them. But then we've got it on the toms. It's the same thing, right? Renaissance axe. And the Renaissance axe was really supposed to be more for guitars. That's what the axe is for. So, you know, the way they have the algorithm set up, I'm not sure the drums are going to get, although you can use these plugins on anything. They're just named and all that. But when I'm listening, this is like, you know, it's set up with a different type of way it attacks things, and combination being compressor, limiters, and all that. It's attacking and releasing in a way, to me, that's not as flattering on these drums. You know, on these toms and everything, it's just kind of the same thing we mentioned before too, where the toms are kind of, you know, spreading out a lot of the sound too much. We got this hi-hat, and we got the Renaissance axe on there as well. Let's see. Let me turn that off for a second. See, I don't think it's needed on this hi-hat. It seems to be, it's making the hi-hat too one-dimensional, you know, whereas we're hearing, when it, so you can hear the dynamics in that. You hear it getting louder. It's kind of going up and down. Whereas when it's on here, you hear all the notes, but they're all the same. And especially that it's being crunched down. So just be careful what you pick on things like that. You take it off. See that? It's kind of got that up and down thing on it, like a drummer would have when they're playing it, you know. Then we've got it on the overheads. So it's off now. Let me put it back on. See, I don't know if you can hear that like I can, but to me it sounds way better without that Renaissance axe on most of this stuff, especially on the overheads, because to me it just kind of, on the overheads, it just really flattened out the groove overall, the room sound, it's just, everybody's too one-dimensional right now. So I think it would be a vast improvement to relook at that. And then the final thing, like I said, everybody's, let me mute the keys for a second. See, everybody's going through this reverb, right? Now, I like the reverb you chose. You hear what it's doing on the snare, it's okay. But listen what's happening with the kick drum. It's okay on the toms and all that. But you hear it on the cymbals, you hear it on, so it's adding a bunch of stuff on here. If you do anything too, I believe, this has EQ on it too, so you can EQ some of this to be a little more out of the way. Yeah, I pulled down a little bit at low end, but I still think, I mean, it's just too much to have all the drums going through this reverb. Put it on a send, and I think you'll get a cleaner result. Let me turn this off for a second. Just want to hear, let me hear what it sounds without this limiter too. See, this limiter is taking away the punch of the drums as well. You know, gradually with all those things working as limiters and, you know, or combination limiters, compressor limiters and all that, you're gradually shaving off punch and poke in these drums with all these things on here. So even though it might seem to get a little bit louder, it's really losing a bit. You need something else to make it achieve all that. Now I like the Maserati. The Maserati's cool on there. You know, you might want to tweak it. It can probably get you, if you tweak the Maserati, it can probably get you a little more of what you were looking for. Let me put the bass in and the keyboards. Turned off. Now I want you to imagine, I'm going in and out with the reverb, because like I said, the reverb sounds good on the snare. So imagine what these drums will sound like and how much punchier they would be if the reverb was carrying out and doing that stretch on the snare, and maybe slightly gluing some of the other things, but you didn't have every single drum going through it. I think it would benefit you a lot, okay? So anyway, you know, I didn't want to go on too long and everything. I always end up overdoing it because I get carried away. Y'all enjoy it. But Jerialice, I hope that was helpful, and everybody that's watching, that's to give you some insights. Now, if you want more help, and Jerialice, we had already talked as well too. So if you want more direct one-on-one help beyond this video, feel free to reach out to me. You know, guys know I have my calendar here. You can get on my calendar and book a slot on my calendar. I can give you a free 15-minute strategy session that'll give maybe a sonic breakthrough and get you to some clarity and help you see, you know, where you need to go forward. You can get on there and book a slot on my calendar, or send me an email directly to Khaliq at Khaliq-O-Vision.com, and then I can see if and how I can help you get there a little faster. You know, me doing these random tips for you and everything, I think that's very cool and it's very helpful to you and everything. But if you actually want to get there without having to wait every now and then and try to put it all together, it's in and out of order. I have a system that's much more orderly or whatever, so we can talk about if I have any further solutions and you want to take it further directly with me, just reach out, and then let's hook up on a free session and talk about it and see where we can go. I can probably help you cut down a whole lot of time and eliminate a whole lot of trial and error just by us getting together and hooking up one-on-one. So anyway, this is Khaliq Glover. I'm also known as Khaliq-O-Vision. I hope that was helpful to you, and I'll be back later on with a few other helpful tutorials. This is for specifically, I'm reaching out to a lot of people on the Home Studio Trainer Facebook group, which is dedicated to helping people using Studio One, because I'm trying to make myself use Studio One more these days as opposed to Pro Tools, because I really like Studio One and all the power, and I can get around it okay, but I really don't have anywhere near the power user type of a proficiency that I should have with this, because Teddy Riley turned me on to this years and years ago when we were working on Michael Jackson's project, and I've used it off and on and everything, but you know, most of my clients come in with Pro Tools stuff, but I'm just now making a concerted effort to really get down and master Studio One beyond just kind of the surface stuff that I already know. So that's why I'm hooking up here with Johnny and a lot of the other different people that are out there. David Vignola, we're going to be talking, David, and try to reach out, and a few other people that I've been checking out, because I'm a student too, a forever student. I want to get better at this as well, so I'm sharing what I can with you guys, and then we can all move together faster rather than slower. Okay, I'll catch you guys later. Hope you have a wonderful day. It's Khaliq Glover, and I'm out.